Where was the most public place you have had sex? The Blue Lagoon in Iceland. Famous volcanic spot. Me and the wife got frisky in one of the pools where we thought was secluded. One of the lifeguards, security, came up to us, laughed and said everyone can see what you're doing. And pointed to the observation platform with a lot of tourists with cameras were watching. Edit, wow, most love I've received for a post, thanks. For the record, it was well timed as I had just finished when the guy walked over, though my wife was still straddling me, maybe he waited. Seemed like a considerate chap. We waved at the people on the platform who waved back. Never seen any footage of this surfacing, but if anyone was there in March 2015 and has this on film, let me know. Thumbs up sign. TL, DR, in my FWB's office, which had a big glass wall facing the office lobby / common area while most employees were working from home because of COVID. I had a FWB that was the only person working in the office on her floor during COVID. She always had a "fuck me in my office" fantasy, so when her boss left town and the office was especially quiet one day, I headed over. I expected to find a windowless office at the end of a dead-end hallway or something. Nope. It was an office with a floor-to-ceiling glass wall facing the lobby and elevators. The middle portion was frosted, but you could still see people's feet, heads, and blurry versions of the people inside. I was a bit shocked, but she assured me nobody else was there, so I said fuck it, let's bang. I was a few minutes in and really giving it to her on her desk when we hear a knock on the glass door and see feet. It was an executive secretary coming to check on some maintenance work in the office. She went away, but it was obvious we were busted. The worst part was that as I left, she was coming back and I had to do a walk of shame past her to get on the elevator. Near Charleston there is the Edisto River. People take inner tubes and floats and ride the river down all the time. The most popular start and stop points are a few miles apart, so you need to make sure you have one car parked at the end and take another to the start to float down. What we did and many other people do is forget to have the keys to the car at the end on you as you float and need to find a way back to the start car. The day we did this, it started raining fairly hard partway down the river, so by the time we got to the end there was no one else coming or going from the river while we waited, so we made our way to a bench under some trees, ate a snack, then the urges came and she rode me in the rain on a bench at a public boat landing where people get out of the river. They just spent 4 hours floating down and would have seen us immediately, not to mention the fact my mother was on her way to take us to the other car. I have a fun recent story for this. So my husband, kids, and his sister went on vacation. His sister got a free vacation to work as a sitter when needed. So my husband and I go for a drive at night, find a walking path, and decide to go for a walk. While walking we come across a fence and a strange little building, and my husband flirtatiously asks if I want to be naughty. We go into the little building and it has a bench, perfect. We do our thing, and as we leave, we realize it is a dugout and there is a school nearby. Yes, neither of us recognized a dugout due to the dark and the fact that we are idiots. I am now panicking because that is a crime. I'm drunk and don't think about how indecent exposure is a crime to begin with, but whatever. We walk back to the truck and head back to the rental house. Well, about 5 minutes down the road and we are getting pulled over. Initiate panic mode. My husband was stone cold sober, but I'm sure he is pulling us over because we are now on the sex offenders list for having sex near a school. Nope, due to the street lights, my husband forgot to turn his full headlights on, just the running lights were on. We get off without a ticket and we never spoke of it again, except to all you people. So that's the story of the time I thought I was going to be arrested for fucking my husband. On the roof of an apartment building, alley between apartment buildings, in a car on the side of the road, in a parking lot between cars at a Chevelle concert during the Wonder What's Next tour, missed half their set, in the dressing room of a small clothing shop in Hollywood, with one of the sales girls, in the bathroom of a bookstore I worked at, same bookstore's warehouse, behind the bar at a restaurant that was closed but shared the building with offices above. At one point a bunch of people were going out to lunch, so we had to hold still and quiet until they left. They were about 6 feet away on the other side of the bar, at a party in the code room. Halfway through a drunk dude wandered in, so we rolled off onto the floor between the bed and the wall while he passed out on the bed. Damn. I didn't realize I've had so much public sex until just now. Got head in a McDonald's booth. I was the one facing the outside window. It was a train booth where the kids usually sit. Wasn't planned that way, it just happened to be in the back. A truck pulled in and I wasn't sure they could see through the window clearly, sometimes there is glare. It didn't take long for snickering to be heard and people to look around the corner at us. There was a guy in uniform who looked like a cop to me. Maybe he was a security guard, I don't know. Definitely very similar uniform though, who poked his head around the corner and we made eye contact and he said, "What's wrong with that?" with a smile. The people got their food and left, got in the truck, honked their horn, flashed their lights as us, and I knew they could definitely see through the window. Along with everyone else. When I was 13 I was getting a blowjob in the local park in a place I thought was secluded. Looked up and saw two builders staring right at us with hands on their hips. We just moved to another part of the park. Also 13, I was fingering a girl at the back of the cinema. One of the staff members must have seen on camera or heard a complaint. She came up with her torch and called us nasty and kicked us out. Also 13, I regularly fucked a girl on the stairwell of her tower block/apartment complex. When I was 14 I fucked a girl in another local park and an old man came up to us saying stop. Too young, as he waved his walking stick about. At which point, I ran off, only to remember she was laying on my coat, so I had to run back to her to get it. I've fucked and fingered etc. in various parks since. Got wanked off on a main road in front of onlookers when I was 25. Fucked a few months ago at 27 in a hotel which looked out onto a train station with the curtains and windows wide open. I guess you could say I like an audience and I like risk. It's exciting and naughty and turns me on. I've fucked in front of friends numerous times. Also been wanked off and fingered a 15-year-old at 13, again, on a red double-decker bus in central London. Thinking back on it, I was quite the active 13-year-old. Well, 2 places, couple times with my boyfriend at the time, in my car at our college campus. Right in the parking lot by his fraternity house. We almost got caught twice by campus security and once warned by police as we pretended to just be hanging out in the car. Then at his parents' house in the pool and didn't realize his neighbors were getting a show. I flashed them by accident of my topless self. I had to dive under when the husband walked over to talk to my boyfriend, who then pretended we were just swimming and my top came off when we were goofing around. Thank God it was night and they somehow missed that my boyfriend had no swim trunks on. LOL, we were kind of idiots then. The university I went to has a series of interconnected tunnels that link service access to the various utilities these big buildings have. You can get from a manhole on the grounds to underneath the physics building, admin building, etc. My girlfriend at the time and I were wandering around and made it into the giant fancy concert event hall on campus, one of those ones all decked out with red curtains and Baroque decor. The stage door was open, and the stage was set up with big poofy chairs for a high-profile discussion the next day. Didn't look like anyone was there, so we did it on the chairs. It was amazing. We got out of there ASAP in the event that there were any monitored security cameras, and the next day I attended the discussion and couldn't stop grinning to myself while remembering what happened in those chairs. A few years later I ran events at another fancy theater in a nearby town, and though the events were well attended, we never opened the box seats. So one time I invited a girl I was seeing to fool around in the box seat with around 500 people watching the event below. It was a skeleton crew running the show, so I was reasonably certain we wouldn't get caught, but I was sure glad an usher didn't wander into the box to check out the movie playing or something. Literally in the train, during off-peak hour. The train car was empty but us. My GF was sitting on my D with her skirt covering our legs and panty at her knee. The ticket controller almost caught us, but it was such an excitement of hearing him get closer while we were fixing our hair and messy clothes in a hurry to look normal. She went back to my side. While the controller was leaving, I just dived my hand in her skirt. Her panty was soaked. I finished her by rubbing through her panty while controller was still few meters behind. The way she hold her moans and breathing was so hot. That's legit the most lewd thing I ever did. I hope everyone can have that frantic heartbeat, and the complicity with your beloved like the one we had that day. Restroom in a restaurant. On the front of a car behind a car wash. In a car behind Goodwill in full daylight. On a picnic bench while camping with the fire going. Another time camping, but we forgot our tent, so we slept under the stars and fucked in the morning, with our friends nearby whom also didn't sleep in tents cause it was a crazy night. Too many times to count in the woods. One time in HS we were going at it in my BFS 66 Impala and a guy rode by on his bike. The windows were all steamy, so it what he saw. We got out of there fast. LOL. I also had sex with him in a movie theater. Not many people were there and we were in the very back row. Had sex in a lot of vehicles day/night. My boss ate me out in the back of our work after it was closed and we basically partied there all night. In the nightclub I worked at, on a second floor loft that they no longer used. I think it was due to it being a fire hazard. At the time I was working at this other place and met a girl there, and though we were attracted to each other, nothing ever happened because either I was seeing someone or she was seeing someone. She would visit the club from time to say hello. The nightclub was a former shell of what it once was and we had new promoters trying to do something with it like every other month. After a certain point I didn't care about being there anymore. One night she came in to see me and she told me she was officially single. Well, I was officially single too. So I got her from behind the bar, took her hand and led her up to the loft, lifted up her skirt, turned her around, pulled down her panties, ate her pussy and stuck my cock in her. It was most definitely a good time. I did wind up getting fired for disappearing from the bar on a busy night. Whatever. Oh, what a night. Graveyard, but I didn't know until I looked around and saw the graves. The girl I was dating took me there because I wasn't familiar with the era. And the worst part was that I took her virginity there. Also in a public swimming pool changing room. You could see people's feet so they could see ours. Different bushes when I was young. Including in my schoolyard and in my home street, now I'm pretty sure people could see. And in some alleyways. That's basically it. P.S. All of these were during the middle of the day. PS2, I remember one when it was dark outside and me and my FWB were in an open grass field on a bench. We were busy and I see this light in the distance turn on. A guy walks out of his house, he just stands there doing nothing starting right at us. I kept telling her that I was positive this guy was looking at us, but she told me he couldn't see because it was dark. So eventually she also believes he is watching. I asked her what she wanted to do. And she said, let him watch. Then he has something exciting going on in his life. My high school girlfriend and I both had very nosy parents, so we had to get inventive. This was about 15 years, but the ones I remember: the park, the woods behind the rec center, the woods behind our high school, on top of the bleachers at the empty high school football stadium late one night, under the bleachers during the day, in my car at the Butterfly Garden, in the movie theater parking lot, behind the movie theater in the alley, at the optometrist parking lot after hours, at the elementary school parking lot, in the elementary school playground, during the summer, no school, in the movie theater projection room while movies were playing a couple dozen times. She worked there. And there was no door to the projection room. That one was pretty risky. The woods behind the Walmart, the woods behind the Kmart, behind the laundromat, on the beach a couple of times, both day and night, another playground, inside the movie theater since the 3 o'clock showing of Malibu's Most Wanted was almost completely empty, and on a random mattress we found in the woods behind the school board building. There was so much more. I was 15, she was 16. I'm in my 30s now and I don't know how I ever had the energy for all that. Man, I always considered myself pretty vanilla, but I'm pretty surprised at how tame a lot of these sound. Some of mine include: in houses that were half built. Happened a couple of times at different places. We'd walk around an area and if we saw an unfinished house and no one seemed to be around, we'd go make some memories there. Almost got caught one time by a neighbor, though odds are they thought we were stripping copper or something rather than each other. In college there was a building in the middle of campus under construction. There was a path with stairs that went down maybe 8 feet below ground level, with a temporary fence separating the ground level path past the building from the stairs down. A girlfriend and I snuck in through the temporary fencing and had sex up against the wall as students walked by overhead on the way to class. On a field behind a sheriff's office, after hours, and it was dark, but that was not my smartest move. In the community center of a retirement community. It was after dark, we had been in the pool outside it until the lights went out and it closed, and we found that the doors into the center were locked but the doors to the bathroom, which opened both to the poolside area and the interior, were not. Snuck in and had sex on a couch in the main area. Not sure if there was an alarm or something, but someone with a flashlight came by before we could finish, and we quietly slipped our bathing suits back on and scampered off before getting caught. In the sports equipment shed at a community softball field. Found the door unlocked, stepped in for a few minutes, came out with red faces. At the beach. Lost my virginity at the beach, actually. Terrible time, the sheet we put down wouldn't stay still, sand got everywhere, my girlfriend at the time cried, her first time too. A time at a different beach much later with a different girlfriend was a lot better. The beach had benches and during a night stroll along the coast we noticed no one was around, so we had a quickie. Hot tubs and pools, private ones though, so not sure if that counts. Water makes for lousy lubrication, but it's still really hot to start in the water and finish out of it. On the balcony of a 2-story cottage my girlfriend's family was renting out in Martha's Vineyard. There was a nearby concert going on, so we were serenaded by Livingston Taylor, James Taylor's brother, who has a surprisingly good and similar voice. Her family had gone to the concert, we begged off saying we were tired. Anyone walking by could probably have seen us if they looked up, though it was getting dark by that time. The most public place I've watched people have sex is on the 55-yard line on the football field at McGill University in Montreal. While I was a student and football player there, a friend of mine and I often used to sit in the stands and smoke joints. The view of the city there was lovely, and we quickly learned that there were often other things to see as well. Not infrequently while we were seated high in the stands, sometimes couples, sometimes more, never anyone solo, would come out to the center of the field, have sex, get up and leave. They never stuck around for long, and it never took them very long to get down to business. It honestly never really seemed that romantic from my vantage point, just another box to check. I haven't read through this whole thread, but if anyone in this thread was at McGill between 97 and 04 and their story is about having sex on the football field, Jeff and I were probably cheering you on. High fives. Rip Jeff.